Chapter 201.
Thank you for your continued support. I would like to let you know that 80% of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel. Please do not forget to subscribe, give a like, and leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Relax and enjoy.
Wilbur shook his head coldly. Jose Smithson owes the Torres clan nothing more after this. Yes, of course. It's all settled. Marcus nodded like a woodpecker. Wilbur turned to look at Jose. Let's go. Jose nodded. He bowed at Marcus, straightening up with ease. Wilbur turned to leave, and Jose followed behind him. Just then, a heavily injured Spencer shouted all of a sudden, "Wait, sir!" Wilbur frowned, turning around. Spencer was lying on the ground, bowing deeply to Wilbur as he stammered, "Sir, would you be so gracious to take me in as a pupil? I am willing to do whatever it takes." Wilbur's skills had truly shocked Spencer, and he knew that there was a limit to his powers considering his age. Amidst his shock, he realized that he might actually be able to improve his skills if he were to have Wilbur as his master. If that happened, his lifespan in power would increase once more. That was the whole point of him delving into cultivation after all. Thus, he dragged his beaten body into a bow in hopes that Wilbur would take him in. Next to him, Wolf was desperate as well. He collapsed to his knees alongside Spencer, asking for Wilbur to be his master. Wilbur glanced at the two men. "I didn't even take Jose in. Do you think I would say yes to you?" Upon saying so, Wilbur headed outside with Jose in tow. Spencer and Wolf were beyond upset, yet there was nothing they could do but sigh. Just then, an idea came to Marcus, and he bowed as well. "Sir, thank you for saving the Torres family from a crisis. I have a gift that I shall have Jose pass to you. I hope you'll accept it." Wilbur chuckled, not even turning around as he left. He was not the slightest bit interested in a gift from Marcus. They left the place, and Jose drove the both of them back to Seachertown. Jose did not thank Wilbur too elaborately, but he knew that he would have no more baggage after this and would swear absolute loyalty to Wilbur for the rest of his life. Wilbur stripped the spirit energy from his face, returning to his real appearance as he looked out of the window with furrowed brows. Not long after, he sent Elsa a message about the skull tattoo. He asked her to look the tattoo up to see if it matched any present gangs active near Cardin Province before closing his eyes to get some rest. The car finally reached the Seachertown freeway when it was past 11 at night. Just as Jose was about to enter the freeway, a beetle charged out of nowhere and collided abruptly with Wilbur's car all of a sudden. Caught by surprise, Jose braked the car at once. Yet the beetle was too fast, and the roads were too narrow, so the driver of the beetle could only swerve frantically before flipping over altogether. Wilbur and Jose got out of the car at once, walking up to the beetle. The car door was so damaged that it could not be opened normally anymore. Wilbur saw this and gripped the door handle, yanking it hard. The door came off altogether, and Wilbur hauled the driver out. It was a young lady in her 20s. There was blood on her face, and she was clearly unconscious. Wilbur gestured at Jose to call the police, while he got to resuscitate the lady. He did some compressions on her chest while channeling his spirit energy into the lady. After doing a little over 10 compressions, the lady woke up. Wilbur stopped and got up, standing to the side. Jose walked over then. "Sir, I've called the police. The ambulance and other related units will be here in no time. But I think this might take a while. I've called Miss Eve, and she's on the way to pick you up so you can head home first." Wilbur nodded, leaving Jose behind as he walked out. An accident had happened, and someone had gotten injured. He would have to record a statement and fill out numerous documents if he stayed, which was quite a pain. Faye arrived not long after, and she drove the both of them home. She asked Wilbur what happened, then stopped worrying after she found out that the situation was not very severe. Chapter 202. It was past midnight when Faye and Wilbur got home. The two of them chatted for a while, then headed back to their rooms to rest. Wilbur got a message from Elsa not long after he was back in his room. She had not been able to find any gangs or news linking to the skull tattoo. Wilbur frowned, pacing to and fro in his room. Something told him that there was more to this than it seemed. All of a sudden, he thought of his handler. Surely the department would have a better database. However, Would his handler not be in bed by this hour? Wilbur held back the urge to reach out for the time being and went to bed. The next morning, Wilbur woke up and got ready, going downstairs to the living room and greeting Faye. Once Faye had left for work, Wilbur took his phone out and pulled up his handler's contact. He gave it some thought, then pressed the call button. "Hello, Deacon Penn. Handler Beverly Torres here at your service." Beverly's crisp voice came ringing down the line. Wilbur cleared his throat. "Hello, Beverly. Two things have happened around me lately where both the people involved were able to use a sort of power called a blood cult sacrifice to increase their spirit energy. They even had a cult chant. Blood for the blood god, skull for the skull throne. They've also got the same skull tattoo on their chest. Can you help me find out if they're from a group of sorts, and what their goal is? Please give me a minute. I'll be right on it." The call did not disconnect, so Wilbur waited silently. Around 2 to 3 minutes later, Beverly spoke up once again. "Deacon Penn, I found something." Wilbur was surprised. That was really quick. He found it a little hard to believe that this department really was that powerful. "According to your description, these two people were likely members of the Skull Cult. They believe in an all-powerful leader called the Blood God, a superstition rooted in bloodism that came to be in the West. They've been spreading their word around the world, telling everyone about their hunger for violence and bloodshed. Our nation is currently doing our best to take them down." "What's this bloodism about then?" Wilbur asked. "The roots of bloodism itself are unclear, but it's a religion that's been around for almost 1,000 years. Their headquarters are located in a few countries in the West, and they worship the blood god as an almighty powerful being. They claim that once the blood god descends, he will take over the world and drench the face of the earth with blood." Wilbur frowned. What good would turning the planet into a bloodbath be for the believers? They worship violence, slaughter, bloodshed, war, and destruction. The belief is that a disciple of the blood god can only return to the blood god in his true form after death, as the blood god rules over the world. Wilbur raised his eyebrows. What an extreme religion. It sounded like they simply enjoyed the act of killing. How different were they from any other terrorist group? If the Skull Cult came from bloodism and were in the country, it seemed like they had been in the country for a while now. "Do you have any information on the Skull Cult in the country? Like where their headquarters are or something along those lines?" "I'm really sorry, but I can't find anything on that." "That's fine then. Goodbye, Beverly." "Goodbye, Deacon Penn. Have a great day." Wilbur hung up the call, sighing heavily. It really did seem like there was more to this Skull Cult than it appeared. At the same time, over in one of the top-secret Seachertown meeting rooms, Albert smiled upon overhearing the conversation. He glanced at the two elders next to him. "See? He's involved now. He can handle the Skull Cult from here on out." Chapter 203. "You sly fox, letting a new recruit handle something so tough," one of the elders said. Albert smiled. He might be new, but he used to be the leader of the Abyss mercenaries. I'd go as far as to say that he's probably one of the 3 strongest people in the department. "He'll be fine. He's hiding something," the other elder frowned. Albert chuckled. "Well, we've all got secrets of our own. It's not a big deal. We'll go with what you've arranged since this is up to your department. You'll be responsible if anything happens, though." Wilbur could not think of any solution after agonizing over the problem for a while, so he decided to just play it by ear instead. What he was curious about, however, was what Beverly might look like. Just then, Faye called. Wilbur found the situation a little strange and hurried to answer. "Boss, I think you're in a bit of trouble." "What's the matter?" "Search car accident on Seachertown Freeway up on the internet and call me back when you're done." "All right." Wilbur hung up the phone, then searched for a short video platform and typed in what Faye had mentioned. What could be the case here? Nothing happened to that girl, Wilbur mused. He opened the video and was promptly shocked. The video had been edited in an extremely negative light and was posted by the girl driving the Beetle. It implied that the girl was driving onto the Seachertown Freeway when a car crashed into her out of nowhere, causing the accident. After the accident happened, Someone from the car that hit the girl destroyed her Beetle and took advantage of her. Upon realizing that the authorities were on their way, the culprit left his driver behind to take care of the scene. The girl driving the Beetle even claimed that she had been assaulted for a full minute while she was semi-conscious. She recalled the assault when she was at the hospital and demanded that an investigation be filed, but the authorities turned her down due to lack of evidence. The girl was furious and decided to go public with an online expose as a last resort against this blatant abuse of power. The video showed Wilbur getting down from his car, ripping the door of the Beetle off, and dragging the girl out. He then felt the girl up and fled the scene before the authorities showed up. The girl also happened to be a popular social media influencer with millions of fans. To Wilbur, it was clear that the video had been edited before to cut out all the parts of him saving the girl with compressions. What was left were a few clips that were more than enough to make him look like a monster. The video had hundreds of thousands of likes and over 3,000 comments, all of them dragging Wilbur's name through the mud. Thankfully, the girl had censored Wilbur's face so that he would not be recognized by the public. Wilbur could hardly care about that right now. He called Faye back at once. "It's fine. I know what I did. You don't think I would do something like that, right?" Faye said, "Of course I believe you. But these influencers are stooping lower and lower just to get a few clicks. You should be careful. These cyberbullies might be after you." "What? Surely that can't be the case." Faye sighed. "You really don't know what you're dealing with. How about this? I'll send someone over to give that influencer a warning. Make her take the video down before things get even worse." "That works. Sure. We'll do that." "Okay." Wilbur hung up the call, finding it rather amusing that he would end up encountering something like this. This influencer lady was really quite something. The video had clearly been taken from the security camera the lady had in her Beetle. Surely her lies would be exposed if an investigation were to really happen, right? Chapter 204. Wilbur shook his head. He sat in his living room and started to meditate. Honestly, he could hardly be bothered about the video. Meanwhile, over in Seachertown Hospital, the influencer named Sherry Devos lay in bed. The top part of her head was bandaged, but she was still streaming on her phone. There were over 100,000 people watching her stream, asking how she was doing. Sherry put on her most pitiful expression, venting to her audience about her troubles in hopes of gaining some sympathy. All at once, more and more people joined the stream and her follower count had shot up as well. Sherry held back the excitement and glee in her chest, making her pity act as much as she could. She was actually pretty impressed with how this had worked out for her. She had just hit her forehead then, falling unconscious for a bit. The hospital had run some tests on her, and she was pretty much fine. That night, she pulled up the footage from her car and got to work. She made herself look like a victim, posting the edited video onto multiple media platforms. But she had not made a report at all. A wealthy man driving a fancy car took advantage of an injured young lady while she was unconscious, and the authorities did not allow a case to be filed. It was practically the perfect tragedy, and the internet blew up penalizing the heartless owner of the fancy car while expressing their deepest sympathy towards Sherry. Sherry was unbelievably smug. She was going to rise to fame from this for sure. Just then, two men wearing suits walked into the hospital and came up to Sherry's bed. "Hello, are you Miss Sherry Devos?" one of the men asked. Sherry looked up. "Who are you?" "Hello, my name is Jose Smithson. I was the driver of the car in the accident. This is Thomas Wentworth, our company lawyer. He'd like to speak to you." "What is it?" Sherry grew wary almost instantly. Thomas stepped forward. "Miss Sherry Devos, I'm requesting on behalf of my client that you take down the falsely edited video you shared on all platforms. Please also issue a public apology for spreading misinformation as well, thank you." "What do you mean? Spreading misinformation? What are you getting at?" Sherry cried out loudly. The patients in the beds next to hers looked over strangely. Thomas said, "Miss Sherry Devos, the video you posted of my client was edited to show a false narrative. It has greatly damaged my client's reputation, and we will take legal action if you do not take it down immediately." "Are you threatening me?" Sherry curled her body into a ball, crouching into her sheets with a fearful expression. "I'm not scared of you just because you have money," Thomas said. Miss Devos, my client did nothing you accused him of in your video. In fact, he saved your life. It's a little ungrateful of you to do this. I can't believe he's not only refusing to apologize but even sending lawyers over. I'll take down the video. But there's no way I'm apologizing. Tears streamed down Sherry's face, and she looked impossibly pitiful. Thomas glared at Jose, asking for his opinion. Jose had already been fired up from watching the video in the first place. Who did this lady think she was, lying with a straight face like this? Young lady, you can't get away with making things up like this. My boss has decided not to press charges, or you wouldn't even be here in this hospital right now. Take the video at once, or there will be consequences. Jose was positively fuming when he was done, leaving after that with Thomas in tow. Jose wanted nothing more than to teach Sherry a lesson, but Wilbur had not given any orders and thus Jose had held back. Right after the two men were gone, Sherry shouted into her stream, "Guys, I'm ending the stream. The video's going to be taken down too now that I'm getting threatened." She ended the stream immediately and deleted the video of the accident. On her face, however, was a smile. The internet went nuts over it. Chapter 205. Almost all the people who watched the stream saw the way Sherry had curled up into her sheets, cowering from the two men speaking to her. One of the men seemed to be a lawyer while the other men threatened Sherry. Sherry herself had said that she was getting threatened as well, shutting off the stream and claiming she was going to delete the video. Some of the viewers from the stream pulled up Sherry's profile and found that the video was indeed gone. That incident caused an uproar online. Barging into a hospital with a lawyer and some hooligan threatening a young lady in public, it was as if Dasha was a lawless nation. All at once, the viewers scoured the internet for information on who owned the fancy car that had hit Sherry. They were well bent on finding him and making sure he was taken down by the law. Sherry lay back in bed with a gleeful expression plastered on her face. She felt like she had done a splendid job, knowing how the internet took in cases like this. In her mind, the bigger of a deal that was made out of this, the more traction she would get online. Then, she would get more followers, climbing the popularity ranks and raking in money by the armfuls. Nothing else mattered aside from that. After an afternoon of sleuthing by the netizens, there was some information on the car that had hit Sherry. This car belonged to Cape International and was frequently spotted around Castleberry, a high-profile neighborhood in Seachertown. The news caused even more buzz online. Anyone who could afford to live in a neighborhood like Castleberry had to be working as one of Cape International's higher-ups. The netizens got to work, spreading the information everywhere. However, to their outrage, they found that they were unable to post or share any content with the word Cape or Cape International in it. The netizens were infuriated. It was clearly an abuse of power, bearing down on the weak and poor. They decided to switch up their plans, posting catchphrases and videos that did not mention Cape International's name but were obviously referring to them as well as the owner of the car. Over in the Cape International CEO's office, Faye's expression was creased with displeasure. Even though she had reached out to multiple media platforms to help with censoring, there was no way to truly censor these netizens. The posts were increasing by the second, damaging Cape's reputation more and more. On top of that, things would get even worse if Wilbur was exposed. What would it look like for the owner of Cape International to be living with someone working for him? Wilbur had said from the start that he wished to keep his identity a secret, and exposing it would definitely affect his personal life. Someone with less than savory intentions could use this case to cause even more damage to Cape. A person's reputation played a big part in their confidence, the same way a company's reputation played a big part in their brand image. At that thought, Faye took out her phone to call the police so the authorities would handle this. With how big Cape was, the case would be tended to immediately and it would not take very long at all for the truth to be revealed. Yet upon second thought, this Sherry person seemed like a pretty cunning woman. If the authorities got involved, she could just claim that Cape was abusing their power and bribing the police to take action, which was in itself a whole new can of worms. It would not even be that big of a deal if Cape International was the only party involved. Faye could just send the authorities onto Sherry and make sure the company's reputation remained pristine. But Wilbur was part of this now, and it would be bad if his reputation suffered any damage from this. It was important that Wilbur had many powerful people in his social circle, and this might have caused them to misjudge Wilbur. Faye put the phone down. She left work early, thinking of having a chat with him. Wilbur was in the living room meditating when she got back. He opened his eyes as she sat down on the couch.